everyone, and welcome to McCarthy News. I'm Lila Hernandez, and I'll be reporting on the Crusades. Local sources say the Crusades were a number of attacks that were initiated by the Pope and other Christians to capture Jerusalem and the Holy Lands back from the Muslims. The Crusades started in 1095 and did not end until the year 1272 and were initiated by Pope Urban III. In November 1095, at the Council of Clermont in southern France, the Pope called on Western Christians to take up arms to aid the Byzantines. Pope Urban's plea was met with a tremendous response, both among the military elite as well as the ordinary citizens. Those who joined the armed pilgrimage wore a cross as a symbol of the church.
And now on to Michael with our first-hand account.
Good morning, Layla, and thank you for the proper introduction. Today's topic will be about Crusade number 5. Crusade happened in around 1217 to 1221. Pope Innocent was the first one actually called this crusade. This crusade was very important because it proved that recapturing Jerusalem was still a top priority for the church. Their game plan was to weaken the armies of Muslim-held cities so they can go from around and attack the center of the Holy Land. From local sources that we've heard, people were encouraged to join this crusade due to the failure of the second, third, and fourth. People were encouraged to fast for the success of the fifth crusade. He tried to encourage Christians to join the war by offering them indulgence, a reward of financial help. The Pope led the crusades while the defenders was Damietta. Damietta won and wiped out the Christians. The remaining Christian survivors were captured. As things were seeming bleak for the Christians, in 1216 the Pope died. This was a devastating loss as he did not get to see the results of the war, and their leader and moral support died. It ended with the Crusades failing once again. They were defeated near the bank of the Nile. We actually have two people to talk about the Crusades. The first one is actually a footage of Pope Innocent before he died. Thank you for having me, Michael. As you know, we seem to be going on the losing side of the crusade, but we have decided to keep on going. To be frank with you, Michael, my physical health is rapidly declining, and I'm fearing the end is near. The only good thing to come out of this situation is the idea that I will be visiting God very soon. This was our 5th attempt, and we still have not won. We, the people, like to think that this is about our war as God's way of saying that he has a plan for us, and recovering it was not part of the plan. He will not give up until the very last dying breath. Thank you for having me. Pope Innocent, thank you for giving us some insight on your side of the story, and may you rest in peace with the angels. It wouldn't be fair to give one side of the story, so we have an extra guest, Damietta. Thank you, Michael, for the opportunity to give us a voice. Many people think we are the bad guys because we have their holy land, but we just want others to live. They are the ones creating constant battles, and we are simply defending ourselves. It just confuses me that the church would choose such an aggressive way of fighting.
As for the epilogue, Damietta leader Sultan al-Adil planned to ward off the Crusaders' army as they swarmed towards Cairo. However, once the Egyptians saw the size of the army, they fled away from Damietta towards Cairo, taking up a position next to the Nile River. The Crusaders were hindered in the process and failed to take the flooding of the Nile into account. So, upon reaching Cairo, they were trapped behind the canal that was flooded. The Christian army retreated and marched home as the Egyptians launched their attack. The Christian army was all but wiped out, and remaining men were captured by the Sultan, who demanded the immediate return of Damietta. The Crusaders had no choice but to agree to the demands of the Fifth Crusade came to the end. The Fifth Crusade marked the last crusade that was organized by the Church, in which different nations came together to fight to recover the Holy Land. In conclusion, the Fifth Crusade was a failure. This was the 5th attempt trying to regain back the Holy Land, and they failed once again. The crusade was especially important because it showed how the constant loss broke their morale and they were to keep on fighting. I think that the deaths of their leader and Christians showed them that nothing good comes from a war and that they should give up. We are strong and we will never give up.
During the Crusades, a popular place was Jerusalem. Christians came all the way from Europe to capture it. They planned their attacks due to the treatment of their people. In the 11th century, more Christians than normal were being killed in Jerusalem. This was the cause of the fight. Due to the unsafe situations for Christians in Jerusalem, this then led to the declaration of a crusade. So Jerusalem played a major role, and it is very possible that it is the most important location in the crusade. It was what some would say the ultimate goal for the Crusaders. It was a location where Christians were being mistreated, so it was the prize of the fight, and the winner would hold power over Jerusalem. In the end, it was taken over by the Christians due to the outnumbering of the Egyptians. It in turn developed 5 Christian states. Another important place that surrounded the Fifth Crusade was the Holy Land. When St. Francis arrived in the Holy Land, his virtue and zeal attracted many to follow him. The Bishop of St. John of Acre, the chief port city of the Crusader kingdom, actually complained in a spirit of affection and admiration that many priests and soldiers alike were leaving their posts to join the friars. When Francis arrived at the Crusader camp outside of Damietta, he was appalled by the immoral condition of the Christian army and did all he could to dissuade them from setting out for an important battle on the morning of August 29th. Because of what they had become, straying from the ideals of being soldiers of Christ, he predicted their defeat. The laughter at his warnings turned to tears when the Crusaders were routed and 5,000 men died on the battlefield. Francis shed many tears over the deaths of these men, but the truce that followed the battle brought the opportunity for him to wage the kind of crusade he desired.
Thank you for joining us today on our episode of McCarthy News.